On Wyden's Linn County Town Hall meeting, and we have LBCC Student Body President Eric Slider. He's going to come up and he's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Hello everyone. If you are willing and able, I invite you to stand and place your right hand over your heart and face the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of ground rules here. So if you did not have a ticket, and that's what you'll need a ticket because I'll be drawing up tickets with some numbers. And if you would still like to get a ticket, please raise your hand and then somebody will try to bring your ticket over. So when we do it, I'm going to be calling three, and he was born in 1949. So June wrote, so we're setting out your age here. You can blame June for this. His education is JD at University of Oregon School of Law and a bachelor at Stanford University. His family, his wife, microphone going in and out, Nancy, and his children is Adam Lily, William Peter, Ava Rose, Scarlett Willa, 5 children. He was first elected in January 30th, 1996. Which is a big benefit to Oregon when we have our congressional leaders with that much longevity and have that institutional. And he's also on the Committee for Finance. He's the ranking member. Energy and Natural Resources, which is very important to us. Budget and the Select Committee on Intelligence and Joint Committee on Taxation. He's the leading Senate Democrat. Wonderful. Senator Wyden has authored laws extending permanent wilderness protections to more than 400,000 acres.
Contrary to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17.
Mount Hood, the Columbia River Gorge, Oregon's Bull Run Watershed, Badlands, Spring Basin, Copper Salmon, and Soda Mountain. Thank you for that. Since 2000, Senator Wyden authored Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act, commonly known as the County Payments Law, has helped provide a stable source of revenue for historically timber-dependent communities, and Wyden's Combat Illegal Logging Act has helped protect Oregon's hardwood industries from the import of illegally harvested timber products. Senator Wyden began college at the University of California, Santa Barbara, where he won a basketball scholarship and played in Division I competition for 2 seasons before transferring to Stanford University, where he completed his bachelor's degree with distinction. He earned his law degree from the University of Oregon School of Law in 1974, after which he taught gerontology and co-founded the Oregon chapter of the Gray Panthers, an advocacy group for the elderly. Oregon Legal Services for the Elderly from 1977 to 1979 and was a member of the Oregon State Board of Examiners of Nursing Home Administrators during that same period. He served in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1981 until his election to the U.S. Senate. So with that, I think everybody's got a whole bunch of questions that they're going to want to ask, and I know the senator will feel, very disappointed morning that he's not able to address everyone's questions, but hopefully your question, if you get missed, will be asked by somebody else. So, Senator, thank you for coming.
What an inflationary introduction.
That's true. You don't deserve any of it.
What a great crowd, and it's so good to meet. Is that working back there? Yeah. Great.
Sometime.
How many of you have never been to one of our town meetings before? Okay. What happens is, I usually start off with a few comments, like maybe 45 minutes or so. Everybody really likes it. Those folks over there think I'm serious. That's not what happens. This is part of the pledge that I made. We were choosing our first United States Senator in 34 years. And I said if I had the honor to be chosen, I would have an open town hall meeting in every county in Oregon every year that I serve in the Senate. This is just about throwing open the doors of government. I'm not going to be reading from any teleprompters or any of that kind of thing. We're just going to do it the way the Founding Fathers wanted us to do it. Everybody had a chance to be heard. Now we've got a couple of quick
Why not
things
obey
to
the
do,
Founding Fathers'
before
Constitution?
we get started. And the first is, there's so many terrific things about Albany, but what I like best is every day in Albany is Veterans Day. Amazing veterans organizations, the National Association of Atomic and Nuclear Veterans. Mr. Schaefer, where are you? We'd like you to come forward.
This case has spotlighted the moral bankruptcy of a policy to impose a thinly disguised religious test on people coming into our country. Banning a 4-month-old child from the pediatric care she needs, pediatric heart surgeon she needs, doesn't do anything to make America safer. This cruelty runs contrary to American values. It runs contrary to Oregon values. And as long as I have the honor to represent you in the United States Senate, we will be pushing back against these kinds of And one last point, we'll go right to the question. I mentioned that this was contrary to Oregon values. And you'll hear me this morning talk a lot about the Oregon way. Because we have always had a core set of values in our state. We're independent, we're fair-minded, we respect all, we especially stand up for people without power, without clout. And the
What about
reason
Lavoy
I
Finicum? You
mentioned
murdered him.
Oregon values just now is I cannot imagine Mark Hatfield or Tom McCall ever going along with these policies, and I won't either.
All right, thank you, Senator. And so we will start with the ticket numbers, but I had told you earlier we're going to have to do the last three digits, and it's going to have to be 4 since we have such a huge turnout. But also when you do ask a question, if you can sort of just make the question brief and try to maybe refrain from telling some stories, so this way we can be able to, get as many questions in as we can today. So, and if you do go on too long, you might get one of my books at you. So you'll know it it's time for the senator to be able to answer it. So, okay, our first number is going to be 8713. And then we have 2788. And start raising your hands if you have those numbers. 8837. And it's all 3 up. And maybe if that is your number, you changed your mind too, that you don't want to ask a question, just say, pass.
Sometimes at the high schools, the kids get very shy, and one of them said to the other one, because she knew her friend had a ticket, she said, I wonder if he comes to my house if I don't get up and ask him a question. Where are we? Do you have a hand? Okay, we have,
The numbers are 8713, 2788, 8837. That's the first 3.
Go ahead. Good enough for government work.
My question is, Donald Trump said to destroy the Johnson Amendment, which prohibits tax-exempt organizations, including churches, from supporting or opposing political candidates or campaigns. I really think this is a dangerous path to follow for our country.
get prepared, please.
Can that gentleman ask his question? Oh, we have this. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Senator Wyden, this is Hillary Wilson from the Indivisible Together in Eugene. And we would like you to comment on how you are dealing with the president's belligerence in the face of people who oppose him, and how you think that's the implications for governments.
The question was, what does this mean with respect to some of the statements the president has made in governments? We now have had this really striking situation in the last couple of days where leading Senate Republicans, not Democrats, certainly not liberal folks, when the president talked to the leader in Australia, it went so poorly, John McCain said he had to get on the phone and basically take care of it. The Australians, of course, have been on our side for decades and decades. And I come back to the point that I made earlier. If you wanted me to describe our job when there are flawed policies, what you do is you speak up, you push back, and you offer smart alternatives. That's what we ought to do. And I'll just give you one example, just one. As you know, the president has repeatedly talked about the fact that he believes many people voted illegally in this last election.
They did.
Now, I always thought this was a little bit of a head scratcher, because if you win an election, why would you? But, on NPR a couple mornings ago, I was asked about voter suppression, illegal people voting. For one, there's no evidence of it. But two, if you think there is, how about signing on to my bill to take Oregon's vote by mail national? Speak up, push back, and make sure you've got some smart alternatives. And I'm not going to tell you we're going to get that bill passed in the next 15 minutes. But I think we're gaining a lot of support because people like the fact that there's a paper trail for every ballot that's been cast, no evidence of fraud, and empower the citizens. So that's kind of the principles I live by.
Should be 8749 now? Or the next one? Okay, 8653.
Hi, I'm Linda Ramsey from Corvallis. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm croaking. I'm deeply concerned that Donald Trump appointed Steve Bannon as a president of the National Security Council, while at the same time removing the director of DNI and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs from attending every meeting. What is your strategy to halt this new threat? Will you push for Trump to remove Bannon from the NSC? Would you demand a Senate hearing?
The answer to the question is definitely the Senate has got to look into this. And I'm on the Intelligence Committee. I think the mayor made a comment. She said Ron's the senior member of the Oregon delegation. My older child had a couple of good comments the other day. She said, number one, Dad, I've been looking at the Senate a little bit. How can you be in the only profession on earth where somebody your age is still one of the pretty young guys? And then about what's going on your so-called intelligence. And that's exactly the kind of policy we need to dig is demonstrating that they will interfere with an American institution, not my words, but the intelligence leaders last October. We have never looked the other way. I'm going to tell you, we're not going to start now.
Is that, what number is that, John? Is that 8749?
2925.
29, oh, so did we miss 8749? Or are they still? Okay, so 2925, also 8727, if we can get ready to.
My name is Peter Bucco, and I live in Lebanon, Oregon. First off, I'd like to thank Senator Wyden for coming out today and all of our I served my country in the Marine Corps, and I'm very proud of being American. I'm proud to be a Jewish American, and I'm very concerned about the behavior that's going on in Washington, D.C. with Donald Trump. And I'm going to be very blunt. Steve Bannon is a white supremacist.
Are you on 8727? Yeah, it's just right there.
Is that a pink hat you're wearing? I have my scarf in my suitcase.
I was at a march in Salem, there were 5,000 women there. And other,
That's pretty bad.
5,000
kept records of. In the last week, our new representative of the United States has passed 1/10 of those in the first 10 days, or more than 1/10 of those in the first 10 days that he's been in office. I'm concerned about them. I don't think he's reading them before he signs them. It's very apparent that they just hand them to him and he looks it over and looks really important and then writes his name on them. But I'm concerned about dumping waste into creeks.
I'm sorry, you mean the storm water?
Yes,
I voted against taking away that protection for our streams and our rivers. That's
I want
wrong.
to protect our environment. We're very environmentally conscious and
That is not
and
a
this
federal
whole,
government
all of them are driving
function.
me crazy, but that one is driving me the most crazy because it's obviously corporation driven. And what are we doing? You hear crickets from the Republican side every time he signs one of those. And I want to know what's going to be done about this. Are they doing anything? Are the Republicans saying, oh, wait a minute, time out, let's slow this down? I'm concerned about that rapid fire. It's getting lost and people aren't seeing what he's signing.
The question was about whether the Republicans are pushing that. Obviously, there are a few examples of people really trying to speak up. John McCain is the one particularly on national security politics. Yesterday, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins we are one vote short this morning. One vote short at beating the votes. So all over this country this morning, rallies trying to help us get that vote. Now, a couple of days ago, we had a really ill-advised policy. It was called the Congressional Review Act, and essentially we gutted that clean water protection, and we pretty much said it was okay to start driving foreign governments again. So I voted against both of those approaches. And I just want to mention one other, because I'm so glad you're wearing your pink hat. It's very clear that Congressman Price, if he gets sworn in as Secretary of Health Services, he gets sworn in as Secretary of Health and Human Services, is going to do everything he can to take away health care choices for women, and it's why I am fighting this nomination so hard. And I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory because it shows how powerful the special interests are and to what great lengths
you, wonderful.
Your ideas are
2916,
unconstitutional.
is that what you have? Nope. Was there 2916? Must be over. How about 8856? That's 8, okay.
Hello, Senator. Thank you for coming today. My question, why do you think that climate change and protecting our environment became a partisan issue? It is not the Oregon way to turn back time on protecting our environment. So why do you think that happened? And do you see any movement from conservatives who are concerned about these issues to step up and speak out against